Yo, 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 what is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown, episode 513. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
Sup, people? How's it going? By the way, back to numbers.
Back to numbers, yeah, and back to, I'll talk about it later. Carlos Romero.
Yo, yo, yo.
Adam Vale.
What's up, everybody? Get ready. 8 hours, non-stop news, giveaways, loose women, you name it. Shit's happening.
We got the returning one, Mr. Brett Murdoch.
What's up, party people?
Richard Bailey Jr.
What's up, everybody?
And, of course, Brian Manjoma.
What's up? What's up?
All right, guys, we're back with another one. And as usual, OBS is doing some bullshit so no one could see us. They can hear us. We're good. And as always, the audio guys are not going to be worried about this shit, but I got to fix this. So give a couple minutes. Talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves. All right,
Let's see. Are you still on Call of Duty? How's the retention
I haven't been
been
playing lately because I got all this other stuff I've been covering. You know, it's the holiday. It's the season of all the budded games that keep dropping. So, yeah, I know. But, yeah, I'm still playing while you want to play. You want to go shoot some bitches in the face? Go ahead. Say it. Say my name. Let's do it. It's like that, bat signal. Blink. You put it up. I jump in there. I get shot a lot. I bounce out. That's it. Peace.
All right, people can see us good. By the way, before we started, you guys already see the headline of this episode, and I did that on purpose. I was like, let me see if I can catch somebody, bro. I want to give a shout out to the Retro Bro. You fell for my trick, man. I purposely named this episode Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is a great Xbox exclusive, knowing somebody would go, but it's on Steam. I know it's on Steam. I played it on Steam, but technically it's a console exclusive.
It's a console.
Yeah. But I knew somebody would jump on that shit, you know? So obviously we're going to be doing a review of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, me and Rich. And obviously you guys in the chat and here in the panel as well could give us questions on the game, which is actually doing pretty well according to reviewers. It's getting very high scores. I'm actually kind of surprised by the high scores, like, because I thought it was going to be in the 7s and 8s. It's actually more in the 9s and 10s. There's Indiana Jones, you know, Adam's figure. Yeah,
I don't see how it. And I'm not saying it's not going to be. I'm just like, in what world is this a good? Like, this has everything set up for it to be a terrible game. I'm shocked that people.
It's got a great development.
Yes,
team
the
behind
development team is what really saved it.
Wolfenstein. They know everything there is to know about killing Nazis. That's
a good point. That's a good point. Retro Bro, he laughs at it. He's like, PC Master Race here, you got me, bro. See, you're taking it in fun spirit.
That's right. Yeah. Oh,
my man.
There you go.
Yeah, like, dude, I know it's not like a real exclusive. I played it on PC. You know, but I gotta get these motherfuckers. So shout out to everybody in chat. So yes, talk about Indiana Jones. We're gonna do a full review here. And Rich, first of all, please go to the coalition.com, coalitionwithak.com, read Rich's review. Excellent review. And I agree with every word he said. You know, it's like, I was like, yeah, it's exactly what I thought. You know, so
pure butter.
Yeah, so
Pure
Rich,
butter.
you could lead this off and I'll just jump in with my thoughts as we continue.
Well, first and foremost, thank you, sir. Yes, please, everybody check out the review if you would like to hear a lot of what I had to say about the game. But I'll just say this right now. I was one of the people that was very skeptical about this game because I know the big conversation when the game got revealed is, why is this a first-person game and not a third-person game? Because obviously everybody knows that Uncharted and Tomb Raider, those are third-person action adventure games, so they was expecting Indiana Jones to be the exact same thing. And the thing about it is, if you know machine games, you know that they are excellent at doing, when it comes to working on first-person shooters, Wolfenstein, as I've said multiple times on this show, those first two games are fantastic. I can't talk about Youngblood because...
we don't talk about that. Let's keep going.
I don't even know what that is. The only
that.
Youngblood I know is the comic book. Like, what are you talking about?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Obviously I had a lot of questions going into the game because I figured, well, I know what they can do as far as Wolfenstein games. By the way, the Wolfenstein game, that was the first game they worked on because that was one of the first games they worked on when they started coming under Bethesda. So
wow.
That's why I said, okay, so I understand they wanted to branch out and they wanted to do something different. But with this game, yeah, I have to say I was very pleasantly surprised by it because as they marketed it, they said, you're playing as if you are Indiana Jones. They want you to be Indiana Jones. And obviously, that is exactly what you're doing in this game, as far as, exploring different locations. You guys already know what the premise of the game is as far as who the bad guys are because they revealed all that stuff already. But the exploration in the game, fantastic. The big thing that I was worried about was the combat because obviously Wolfenstein games, I like being able to dual wield and just take out a whole bunch of guys. So you cannot do that in this game. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I did try to play this game when I got access to a gun. I said, all right, let's put this to the test. Let's see what happens if I start firing that gun off. And I got killed immediately because this is not how Indiana Jones is supposed to play. This guy is supposed to use his whip, obviously, the signature whip that you've seen in the movies, how he's using the whip to disarm enemies. And then also you can whip the hell out of people, too.
Real quick,
because I did that.
Rich. Just because you just said about the shoot. So are we talking like Call of Duty veteran level where one shot and you're dead?
No, it's not like that.
No.
You take a lot more damage than you would in a normal first-person shooting game. But, Rich, I know you're probably going to say this, like the actual shooting mechanics are fantastic because it's machine games. Although I am kind of annoyed that headshots don't instantly kill enemies. I'm like, bro, I gotta shoot you in the head three times.
That's like the real world, don't you know that?
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck?
I could take 2 or 3. I'm pretty sure 50 cents.
It's just like another game with a certain type of adventurer.
Yeah.
The first Uncharted.
Yeah.
It
depends on the guys, but you're right about that. It's the little guys you could kill in one hit, but then the big guys, like you take 2 hits. Like, bro, it's a head. Anyway.
Before you go for just because
please,
get health pack? Do you get health, or how do you get health?
Yeah, you have bandages. Yeah, you have bandages. Like, you could like wrap around yourself, and that basically represents your health, like the amount of bandages. Like you.
Do they show it like Resident Evil 7, like?
Yeah, like you see, like remember it's first person, so basically you see this arm, like one arm come out, and then the other one wraps the bandage around.
Nice.
And you could also augment that if you eat like breads, like you actually get like a health shield, I guess you could call it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then if you eat fruits, you gain more stamina because like Indy has a stamina meter. If you run, you're gonna run out. You could run out of breath and all that. But if you eat fruits, it'll like elongate your stamina. Again, you're not fucking Nathan Drake and shit with like unlimited stamina and all that. What's up?
Oh, I was like, that's why marathon runners often eat bananas during the race. Now I know.
Wait, do they actually do that?
No.
Okay, that'd be funny.
They can't eat get cramps, man. You're running, eating at the same time. You get
Logic Green goes, Tony rocking that N7 sweater. Yeah, it's fucking cold in New York, bro.
East Coast.
Santi Claus is coming.
I got that N7 hat too. And by the way, if you guys remember, if you listen to every single episode, the reason I got this sweater is because I saw Manny wear it. I'm like, I want that too. That's why I always tell people, never be jealous. If you want what somebody else has, just get it yourself. Simple as that.
Yep.
Like,
no, fuck that motherfucker with that N7 sweater, man. He full of shit. Fuck him. I'm not gonna do that. Bitch, buy yourself.
The year was 1992. I was wearing a pair of Asics, okay? And I'm sitting on the bench with some people, and I knew another kid. He lived in the building, and he was like, "Hey, what's up? Oh, yo, what you wearing?" And I was like, I got new Asics. Like, yo, those are my kicks. I'm like, oh, my bad. I didn't know you own a company. And he went and he stepped on my sneakers.
Oh shit!
He stomped on my. I stood up. Another buddy on the bench was like, no, cut the bullshit, whatever. He's like, no, man, why you gotta get my sneakers? I'm like, I didn't go shopping with you and your mom. I don't know what she buys you. You over here flipping out at me, saying, oh, you stealing my sneaker style. Oh my lord. Those are the days, 1992. All right, keep going with
They
the
keep
review.
going 19 naughty 2 or
Naughty
or
two.
9 deuce. You know,
Mhm.
remember when rap used to do that? Whatever the year was, let's make up a name for it. My favorite is 19 naughty 2. Let's see who remembers that shit. All right, continue, Rich.
Oh yeah, no. So going back to the using the gun, so on and so forth. This is a game where obviously they are encouraging you to really use stealth.
Yes.
Because when I did use the gun, because this was like early in the game, I decided there was an area I was sneaking into. I found a gun. I said, all right, let's go ahead and let's start shooting. So I shoot one of the guards, and obviously alarms go off. Other guards hear you. They have dogs that came in there. Yeah, I got taken out very quickly. But obviously, stealth is what they want you to do in this game whenever there's a lot of enemies.
Rich,
So,
I want
I
to
knew-
say something real quick about that. And I can't speak for the higher difficulties. I played it on medium. I noticed that if you start a fight with a guard, the other guards will show up and they'll mostly start fighting you back with fists. But if you start shooting, then they start shooting. So they kind of respond with whatever you start with, So keep that in mind when you're playing a game. It's like if you start getting to a fist fight with somebody, you're probably just gonna have to contend with other fist fights instead of just fuck. But I wouldn't recommend that either because, Rich, as you know, you will get mobbed. You will get mobbed.
Absolutely. And since you mentioned the fist,
Yeah.
that is something else that I was very skeptical about going into this game because I'm not really a fan of doing the one-on-one fights with fists in first-person view. But the thing is, because there are certain sequences in that game where you have to have a fist fight. It's like in order for you to progress in the story, you'll come across an enemy and there has to be a fight between you and that enemy. And obviously, when you start out, yes, it's very frantic. It can be very fast. But, in Wolfenstein, what they had these magazines that you find that pretty much you find these magazines and then they allow you to get more abilities and upgrade certain stuff. So obviously there was a magazine that I got that did help with the combat. I think you got the same magazine as well, Tony.
Yeah, those magazines help for sure. It's like
Soldier of Fortune or something like that, gun and ammo.
Yeah, stuff like that. But it's more like like fisticuffs or shit like that.
That's exactly what it was.
Magal 101.
Yeah, no, but like those fights, like I didn't really have a problem with the first person part. Here's the thing. I pretty much got, because I understand where people are coming from with the whole first person thing, but I got over that like over 10 years ago. It first started with Destiny, and it really got destroyed with Dying Light. I was like, okay, melee and fucking parkour works in Dying Light and stuff. So that didn't bother me. But the thing is, I'll say this though, if you go in there just mashing shit, you're probably gonna lose. So you gotta back up a little bit. Sometimes you gotta slide around. Again, just like Wolfenstein. Wolfenstein had the exact same melee shit. And I'm going to talk about later. Obviously, I've been playing a lot of fighting games, so I'm going into the shit like a fighting game. Like, all right, man, whiff punish. Okay, the guy did a big attack. I got frame advantage. Let me go in there, back up, do a couple pokes here and there. But Rich, I will say, and I'm not going to spoil it, but for the final boss, it is a full-on melee fight. And that's when I feel I got really good, because you got to be good, because this motherfucker will wax your ass. So it really forces you. So okay, these mechanics are, because I didn't like them at first, and I slowly started liking them, and then by the end, that's when it really clicked. Okay, this is actually pretty good. He's got to do a lot of stick and move and shit like that. But yeah,
absolutely.
Go ahead.
When you take cover, does it go in third person? Because I saw a lot of screenshots of third person. No.
Well, so as far as the third person, that normally happens when you have to climb something or you're swinging across a ledge. It will briefly show Indiana Jones in third person view, and then it will go right back to first person. So they do that multiple times throughout the game, because again, they want you to feel as though you're Indiana Jones, so they don't really want to show the third person stuff too often. But yeah, those are probably the shots that you saw. One thing I do want to make a comment about, and I have to say this, and I think I've already said. Well, I know Tony and Tony probably said the same thing. This game, it really feels like it would be excellent as a movie.
Yes.
And the way that they capture the essence of, because again, they have Harrison Ford's actual model, but they have Troy Baker doing the voice. Troy Baker, by the way, does an outstanding job as Indiana Jones. But this movie, well, this game, this is good enough. It's so good that it makes me completely forget about that horrible Indiana Jones movie that came out about 2 years ago. That was complete garbage. So if you enjoyed that movie, I'm going to tell you right now, you need to play this game, because this game is 1,000 times better than that movie was, and there's no exaggeration.
Yeah, it's better than, I would say it's better than the last 2 movies. And if you guys, been listening to the show, I specifically said, I'm not interested in this game because of those last 2 fucking movies, But when I got the review code, I'm like, all right, let's give it a shot. And I went in there thinking, okay, this is going to be some bullshit. But when literally the tutorial is the intro of Raiders of the Lost Ark, I'm like, okay, this is cool. And then and the quality, and I'm glad they showed that, Rich, because that's the quality you get. Like I feel this story is as good as Raiders of the Lost Ark and the Last Crusade. It's like obviously Nazis and all that, God stuff. Like it's all there, all the Christian allegory stuff. It's all there. So I agree with you 100%. Erase those last 2 movies from your mind because they're trash. Play this instead.
I agree.
Hey, Rich.
Yes, Carlos.
Oh, but Carlos, before you answer, I'm going to tell you, Carlos, another instance where you see Indiana Jones in third person. Your favorite portion of any game, when you're crawling through the cracks.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yo,
Why
man.
do they have to do it there, of all places?
Yeah, because, again, they got to hide that loading screen, But, yeah. Anyway, go ahead. You can answer. You can ask now.
Question. Are there any other standout characters other than Indiana Jones?
Yeah, the villain is really good. Like I was kind of afraid that they would make him like really comically goofy, like stereotypical Nazi goofy. No, this guy is good, because he's also an archaeologist like you, but he's a Nazi, and like, okay, I'm not gonna say his actions were justified or you understand it, but he is a intelligent villain, I'll say that, which is nice. He wasn't stupid, and it made for a really good ending fight at the end. So I would say he stood out. The girl, she's okay. She wasn't annoying, so that's good. And also, as
wait, rewind. You just said girl. So is there a love interest, or is this like
kind of? But they do mention Marion.
Okay.
Yeah, Marion is mentioned for sure.
And then the other one, and Rich, you mentioned him in your review, and I want to talk. The other standout character is forget his name in the name, but it's Tony Todd that plays him. And I think this may be his last
The
role.
late Tony Todd.
Yeah, so I think it's really good that this was his last. Okay, I like the fact that this was Tony Todd's last, I guess, role or in a video game compared to what Kevin Conroy got in Suicide Squad, So yeah, it was so those 2 characters, Carlos, and there's a couple other little ones that are pretty cool too. But yeah, the main villain and the Tony Todd character were great.
All right, here's the question everybody then wants to know. Do you see this growing? Like, can you see this being a new franchise?
I think
that's
so.
what makes the money, right? That's what they all hope for, that this can print money for the years to come with other series. So you see that coming. Right.
Yeah, but the only problem is they have a narrow time window of Indiana Jones lore to stick with. They're, you know what I'm saying? They're constrained. So they could squeeze out another game that's in between those 2 movies. But then after that, I'm not sure what they're going to do. you know.
But they'll do what we were just talking about with my Fig, Last Crusade. Remember that one did that little time, go back in time and see him in his younger years, and they could probably squeeze something in.
Young Indiana Jones games.
No, not that young, not that young. But let's say
Remember Swinging Monkeys?
Let's go into the 30s. Like he's in his 30s, because when we meet him, he's already a professor.
Yeah.
He was already doing all that. So let's catch him before he gets to his.
That could work. Yeah, but if this game does well, I think. Oh, by the way, guys, I know you guys are asking a bunch of questions, so we'll get to those in a bit. We'll see. I'm not sure.
I do have another question.
What's up?
Since this game, you mentioned the exclusivity part.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, it's coming out on PlayStation.
Yeah, and this is why I want people who, because I already see on Twitter, motherfuckers dunking on this game just because it's a quote-unquote Xbox exclusive. It's coming to PlayStation, guys. You're going to look real stupid when it comes to PlayStation. You play this game and you like it, but you can't admit it,
Yeah. Hate, man.
But it'll be good when it comes to PlayStation.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it'll be good then.
It's trash now. Yeah, you're right about that, Brett.
And haptic feedback's going to change everything, Tony. Yeah. That whip, your whole hand is going to cramp up when you try to press it to make it whip. You're like, oh, my hand hurt. I love this game.
Yeah. Go ahead, Carlos. Yeah.
So my question for that was, is this more of a, and obviously we're talking about stereotypes here. Uh-oh. Is this more stereotypically a PlayStation type game than an Xbox game?
I would say so. Okay, by the way, I want to give a shout out to Taylor Lyles. Even though she's not in the industry anymore, she's obviously still a gamer. So she was asking me, like, is this game more like Uncharted or Tomb Raider? I said, it's more like the old Tomb Raiders. Remember, the old Tomb Raiders did not really have a lot of combat. It was mostly puzzles and exploration. Mm-hmm. And this is on that level. Like, it's not Uncharted. You're not murdering 50 million people like Nathan Drake. It's not that type of game. Also, on that point, and Rich, I know you could agree with me on this, I like the fact that you could disable hints for puzzles, because if you play games like God of War and Horizon, or even The Last of Us, I know I'm naming Sony games right now, hint, 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 it's like, oh, do this, do that, do that. Oh, what about this? What about that? Shut the fuck up. Let me do the goddamn puzzle. So I'm so
options to turn it off in those games too. I turn those off in the game when I'm tired of my boy telling me what to do because I'm an old man. He's like, Father, look at this. I like
the fact that this game, you know how when you do the initial setup for games, adjust the screen, the language, they ask you, turn hints on or off. I'm like, turn that shit the fuck off. I like the fact that I was doing a puzzle. I was there. I was stuck for 10 minutes. I'm like, this is great. I'm not here. And I'm so, it's like a Pavlovian thing. I'm waiting for somebody to go, hey, Indy, do that. None of that shit. This bitch is right there the whole time, quiet. I'm like, great, thank you. So I'm really glad they did that, because it's like, I understand that a lot of people are stupid, but gamers want to be challenged. Let them figure out the fucking puzzle. And it's not like these puzzles are goddamn hard anyway. Like the later ones get crazy, but it's like, let me have that, bro. My man Jeffrey Wilson in the house. What's going on, brother? He goes. He goes. Other than indie, are there any other pulp style heroes you would like to see given a game? Ooh, that sounds like something for Throwdown Your Questions. I'm gonna bank that question, sir.
We'll link to that. Are there any characters? Go ahead.
By the way, Manny's answer is Doc Savage.
The Shadow, dude.
Ooh, the Shadow would be good, yeah. But let's not go down the rabbit hole right now. Well, we'll answer it on Sunday, bro.
Yeah. So, you talked about the hint system. The hint system, from what I saw through some of the reviews, is through his camera.
Yeah, so if you take a lot of photos,
the camera.
Yeah.
He'll start to like figure things out. Be like, oh, it looks like I need to do this, but it doesn't give it to you right away.
Yeah, you're right about that. And when I realized that was happening, because I took one picture, I took another, it gave me another hint. I'm like, oh, okay, stop doing that. But you're right. Like, I don't know if there's a limit, like how many pictures you could take. Like, does it eventually give you the answer? I'm not sure.
Damn, what was it? There was a game. It was a Yakuza game. I'm blanking on the series, but there was you would run out. There was only so many pictures, and then it would start overriding some of your other pictures. And I'm like, I needed to figure something out. I took, god damn it, shit overwrote the picture I took. Damn, what was that?
Yeah. While you think about that, Rich, is there anything else?
Oh no, I think yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I know you've mentioned that I mentioned. I think as more questions come, I'll probably mention some more things. But no, overall though, like I said, the game is fantastic. It's recommended, and I will say this: I was very glad to see that there were quite a lot of people that agree that this game is good. Because I was surprised about what the meta score was, the Metacritic score, all this people in the industry, a lot of people in the industry. So that's good to see because I wasn't sure how it was going to be received. Obviously, the first person stuff is not for everybody. There were some people that I know are not going to pick up this game because of that.
Yeah.
But I am saying if you are Indiana Jones a fan, you definitely should check out the game. You may be surprised the same way that I was surprised about how good it actually is.
Yeah. Okay. So
Judgment.
Judgment. Okay. I still got to play that. So I'm going to go through some of the comments here. An Xbox exclusive has quality. Yes, Logic wins. It is. The Retro Bro says, I hope it's a good game. I hope it's good. I need a good game. And that's the thing. Like, this is not Game of the Year worthy. I'm not going to go that far, right? Like, if I were to score it, I would give it either a 7.5 or an 8. But it's a good game. And that's all I ever want, And we're not really getting a lot of these lately.
Well, that's the other thing compared to this window. If you're looking for something of quality during this season, this window currently now, what else is there?
Yeah. Richard, you'll like this comment from Logic. If it has the RBJ seal of approval, I'm all in.
Yes, sir. Hey, I appreciate that, and I actually want to respond to something that Tony just said.
Yeah.
I certainly can agree that it's probably not a game of the year when you think about all the stuff that came out this year. But in my opinion, this game shows just how ridiculous the Game Awards are, because this is a game that definitely should be getting nominated for something, but obviously because it missed the window to get nominated, it's not going to get nominated. And obviously going into next year, maybe it could get nominated, I guess, when it comes to PS5, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
I got nominated for a game to get nominated.
Yeah, right.
At the next awards. It's like, what do you think we'll nominate next year? Pick from these, 4.
Logic Win says, I think this one will actually do decent since it's coming to PlayStation. Microsoft is advertising indie in movie theaters, which is great. I didn't know that. It's pretty cool.
I think it'll do great. Just the fact that it's on PC, it's on the master race right there, especially on Steam. I think it's going to pull big numbers there.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. I have a question for RBJ. Is it necessary to watch the indie films to understand the story in the game? I can answer this one. No, you're good.
Yeah, you don't need to watch the films. That's if you want to watch extra stuff. But no, I think you can jump right into this, and I will say it may make you want to watch the films afterwards, but like Tony said, avoid the last 2 films.
Trash. Just watch the first 3. That's all you need. That's the real Indiana Jones movies. Because I haven't seen these movies in like fucking decades, but obviously back in the day I used to watch them all the time. But yeah, you don't need to have you could be completely blind to Indiana Jones and you'll get it. There's some things you may miss because there's a lot of callbacks to shit.
Easter eggs.
Yeah, there's a lot of Easter eggs. Like if you're a fan, you're like, oh, I know what that is. I know what that is. I know what that is. Let's keep going here. What else? Logic Wins, what's going on, brother?
Is he afraid of snakes?
Oh, of course he is. That's actually a very important part of the story. I'm not going to spoil nothing, but yes, that comes up. And I think there was also a part where it's like there were some spiders, and like I think somebody freaked out. Indy was like, "It's just a spider," but it's like he's not afraid of spiders, but he's afraid of snakes. It's hilarious. It's like tarantulas. He's like, "Well, it's just a spider," But then it's
he's not afraid of scorpions, spiders, or even rats.
Yeah, those don't bother him. Yeah. There is one part in the game. It's not constantly I can say where like the little snake falls on him, but he's like, he's freaking out. He's like, "That's a big snake." It's hilarious. So that's still in there, obviously. My Bits, he goes, waiting on the Aaron Fatburger. Damn, son. Waiting on the Aaron. He's talking about Aaron Greenberg. Aaron Greenberg social media post saying some corny shit like he had anything to do with the game's success. Damn, son. Mob Hits goes. So what Tony is saying is that we have a Castlevania cross Fight Night hybrid game in our hands. I didn't say that. By the way, shout out to Dio with the cheers. Shout out to you, brother.
I wish we had a Fight Night. I remember LA Noir.
I remember
Whenever
LA
you get
Noir.
into the fights, it would zoom in and you would get that Fight Night side by side, and you see them like
I remember
lining
that,
up
yeah.
and throwing jabs and stuff. It's like I'd be cool with that if they did that.
Here's a Rich. Here we go. From Mob Hits. Is this game going to move subscriptions this holiday season? I think that's a valid question. So what do you think?
That's a phenomenal question. I have to tell you that I don't know, because obviously Call of Duty did very well on Game Pass. I think a lot of people probably checked out Game Pass for that. I can see people checking this out on Game Pass, but would they stay subscribed? I don't know.
Yeah.
This is a single player game, whereas Call of Duty has multiplayer, and that's a reason to keep coming back. With that said, this is a game that is not. You cannot finish this game in a day. I mean, this game is. You would think this is a game you could finish in maybe a couple of hours. No, because you have the main storyline, but then you have a whole bunch of side quests. So
Yeah, that's Machine Games. That's how it.
That's how it is. It's funny.
You're like, oh, I'm
Exactly.
almost done. No, you're not. No, you're not. You
Yeah,
got-
well, it's funny.
almost-
Like this game, Adam, I was like, it's probably going to take me 20 hours because the other two games I played, literally, if you look at my Steam number, 20 hours. Because I did the main story, and I would call them all the main side quests. I didn't do the collectible stuff though, because I wanted to at least finish the game before this episode. But I did the main, the main things that involve like kind of story. So about 20 hours, just like Wolfenstein, which I think is good. But yeah, to that end, no, I don't think it's going to move subscriptions because it, like Rich said, it's a one and done type of game. Let's just be honest. It's not a Call of Duty.
Let's say, just like you said, it's a one and done, and you don't want to spend full price. If you just get the 3-month plan or whatever for like $40 or $30, then I can see people doing that. Like here's a 1 month or a 3-month subscription. Beat that, play some other stuff, and then there you go. Merry Christmas. That was it. If you want to continue, that's your own money.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. That's a good point. So what you're saying, Adam, is
real quick. Aren't they doing a deal right now for like 3 months for $30 on that?
Yeah, they got it. They had a Black Friday one, and I'm sure that's going to keep going into Christmas. They'll keep with the deals just for that reason. But thing is, I also don't know. I got to look it up if this is tied to the higher tier of Game Pass, like the way the Call of Duty was. Yeah, just if you had the basic, you wouldn't get it. I think it was the ultimate one you had to have.
CD Keys has a deal on Game Pass for Black Friday. I don't know if it's still going or not. That's what somebody in the chat just said.
All right, they're good. Okay. They're legit. I got a bunch of codes.
Let's throw another one in here because Mob Hits said if it was possible for this game to be nominated for Game of the Year, should it have been a contender? Even though I just said I wouldn't consider a Game of the Year. That's for me. I think it should be on Game of the Year. You know why? Because Balatro has no fucking reason to be there. Get rid of that shit. Put motherfucking Indiana Jones there. The fuck?
And by the way, to piggyback off of what Tony said, this game for damn sure should get nominated for action adventure, because why the hell is Silent Hill 2 in that category at the Game Awards? That's not an action adventure game. So,
I mean, that whole Game Awards is just on some bullshit. It was Otaku Man that said it about the CD keys. Yeah, man. Thank you for that. Stellar Blade didn't get nominated for Game of the Year. I know. Again, the whole show is bullshit, but you can watch us roasting it next week on Throwdown.
Next week.
Yeah, I think we pretty much covered it. The main thing I wanted to let people know was like, yeah, you could turn off the puzzle assist. Great. So yeah, obviously if you're on Game Pass, play the fucking game, please. It's really good. If you're on Steam, if you like action adventure games, I would definitely check it out. And if you're on PlayStation, wait for it to come to PlayStation.
Does it have the iconic song? It has.
Of course.
Yeah. All right. You'd be surprised. Some games not only cut out certain things because they don't want to pay for the rights, or something happened with the composer being bitchy about it. So
So not only is it the iconic sound, but a lot of the music you hear
A
in
lot.
the movies is in the game.
Okay.
A lot of the same music. So that's why I said it feels very authentic to the movies.
Yeah.
All right. I'm excited. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, you'll like it, Adam. Because you like machine games and you like Indiana
I
Jones.
do.
So it's
And
like
I like Indiana
yeah,
Jones, right?
yeah.
Little Indy.
Yeah.
Oh, you're my favorite toy.
Oh, the last thing I was saying, it's not nothing big. It's just something I find it very like satisfying when a guard shows up and he sees me, I just whip him in the face, and he's like, ah! It's hilarious, you know. Then I run in and punch him, and also when I saw dogs, I'm like, oh, here we fucking go, you know. And obviously they're German shepherds, you know. But like if a dog gets too close, crack that whip. You don't have to hit the dog. Just crack the whip. He's like, you know, runs away and shit. You don't like that. You can either do that or shoot your gun. You know, I don't think you can shoot the dog. I tried to shoot the dog, but he wouldn't let me. So I'm like, all right, I can't shoot the fucking dog. You know, but I shot
the
the
Wolfenstein. They got the robot dogs. Those you can kill. You can break their necks because they're robot dogs.
Yeah, but no robot dogs in this game. You know. And just like Indiana Jones movies, it's mostly a straight up adventure, and then at the end you get some crazy supernatural shit. You know, they do just that, which is really cool. You know, but yeah, there's our review. I hope you guys enjoyed that. So let's move on to some other topics. This week was kind of interesting for gaming, for sure. It was the 30th anniversary of the PlayStation, people. You know, I hope everybody got to check out the new themes on PS5. Installed them. You don't have to update. You just do an update and you get them.
No, they're just there. But the unfortunate part of it is they say they're limited.
Which is stupid.
So yeah,
you know,
so they don't give you a time frame of how long it's going to be, but yeah, at least for now, you know, you get the old PlayStation Sony Computer Entertainment logo, and then you get the 30th anniversary screen.
Yeah.
Is it the same anniversary one that they did when the PS4 one was around? Remember, there was that other one that had the gray and.
This one is the way this looks is totally different. It begins like an old PlayStation. It does that. The
PS1. Yeah,
the screen and then the screen turns white, like it turns white, and it shows you the 30th anniversary, and then it begins normal.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, Manny, which one did you put it on? Which theme?
I set it to PlayStation 2.
Nice. Yeah, that's what I did.
Because PlayStation 2, I feel like PlayStation 4 is like it's a little too close to PlayStation 5's noises.
Yeah.
You know, pretty much the noises that the PlayStation Store makes, it's those noises. So I went with the 2.
Yeah.
And my biggest gripe with those menus is that it has that little overlay that goes behind your icons, but the overlay covers the image that's there.
Yeah.
So there's all this real estate that's up there that it gets covered by by that little additional menu cover. I wish they put it at the bottom, like when you press the PlayStation button lightly, or you do one press and it brings up the bottom menu. I wish it was all at the bottom like that.
Yo, man, they should have had you design that shit.
Yeah, well,
you know,
man, a bunch of people changed that shit. I still hate that whole. I miss the PS4. I miss putting themes. I remember having my Fallout 76 theme. It had the intro song playing in the background. It was beautiful.
Speaking of PlayStation 4, you guys, a while ago, there's actually a really awesome PlayStation 2 theme for PlayStation 4, which it has like a real-time clock that looks like those crystals that twirl around and all that stuff.
That's cool.
They did a really good job with it. It came out years ago. So for the anniversary, I actually swapped out my PlayStation 4 menu into that old PlayStation 2 one. And that one's way more interactive than the one that's on the 5. Like the crystals twirl around and it actually keeps time and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So
those are cool. They changed all the icons too. I remember when they did on the PS4. Remember all the icons changed when you switched the themes. They had different designs.
Very cool.
Yeah, there's definitely a missed opportunity. They do have also another on the 30th anniversary stuff. They also do have a new dynamic theme, which if you remember the on the welcome screen that it's called now, you can just go over there and you can change the image that's behind that one. So now it has a new one where it shows like icons kind of twirling around, and it says 30th anniversary and all that stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I enjoy it a lot. And going along with the 30th anniversary kind of celebrations, Shawn Layden did an interview with Eurogamer, and a lot of interesting things came out of that. So I selected a couple, but obviously, if you guys saw anything that you thought was interesting, let me know. But I'm going to run through some of these kind of quotes that he gave. There was a lot of interesting information here. So he said that Sony felt lucky to have survived the PS3 struggles. If you know that era, you know what was going on. That things were not good. He said, PS3 was Sony's Icarus moment. We had PS1, PS2, and now we're building a supercomputer, and we're gonna put Linux on it, and we're gonna do all these sorts of things. We flew too close to the sun, and we were lucky and happy to have survived the experience, but it taught us a lot. We also learned that the center of the machine has to be gaming. It's not about whether I can stream movies or play music. Can I order a pizza while I'm watching TV and play? No, just make it a game machine. Just make it the best game machine of all.
Shots fired.
Son.
Shit, I wish my boss could still order pizza. I wouldn't shit on that feature. That was a good feature.
Yeah, but PlayStation had that feature. They did, like, order pizza while you're gaming.
Yeah,
So he's right. He's like, keep it gaming, man. Stop with all this bullshit. That's what you buy the system for, to play games. Another one here. Apparently, Sony. Former PlayStation executive Shawn Layden recalls jealousy of Tomb Raider launching first on Saturn in Japan. Little history lesson for you guys. Originally, Tomb Raider was going to be made just for the Saturn, right? And then, I don't know what happened, but Sony eventually got it on there too. But I didn't know that they were jealous about that the game dropped first in Japan. Pretty interesting. Let me see if I get his quote here. I wanted to get Tomb Raider for the Japanese market. I wanted it to be on PlayStation. I saw Jeremy Heath Smith and Adrian Smith, founders of the original Tomb Raider developer Core Design, and we talked about it, and they were really excited about the concept. We talked it through. They talked it through. Bad, whatever. They signed to bring it on Saturn. So they were doing deals, and like, here you go, Saturn. And he's like, what, Sega? And then shortly thereafter, they did get it onto PlayStation in Japan as well. But it launched on Sega, and yeah, that always felt, what could I have done to have actually gotten it? But it came that close. That's a crazy story. That sounds very familiar to what happened with Nintendo when we're going to talk about that, Yeah, as a matter of fact, here we go. He also said that Sony felt that Nintendo left them stranded at the altar. There's a story we talked about before that basically Nintendo created, the worst enemy in the PlayStation after fucking them over. So he goes,
watch Console Wars or read it. It's in there.
Yeah, it's in there. Yeah. Okay. For you guys who don't know, obviously, Sony was going to help Nintendo develop like a CD add-on to the Super Nintendo and stuff. And then at the last minute, they're like, nah, we're not going to do it. And so they're like, what the fuck? And they're like, we have this technology, just make our own system. PlayStation, and that's how you got that. It would have been the Nintendo PlayStation, and there was even a point where we could have had a Sega PlayStation, but because the Sega and Adam, you know about this from reading the book, the guys in Japan got jealous or whatever because the Americans were doing so well. They were like, no, it's fucking insane, man. Sega had so many chances.
So many chances.
Why am I blanking on Homeboy's name? He was running Sega.
It's been a while. I know you're talking about the American dude.
So he went, Otaku Man, you can remind me. So he went to Sega, right? He's like, yo, let's work something out. But there was some problems with like Ken Kutaragi. He wanted the machine to be 3D. Fucking Sega wanted it to be 2D, and he just didn't get the deal through. And then he went to, no, not Peter Moore, before him. He worked at Mattel. Before that, Tom Kalinske, thank you.
Tom Kalinske, and then he went to Leapfrog after that.
Yeah. So then Tom Kalinske went to fucking Silicon Graphics, right? Like, hey, like actually, excuse me, Silicon Graphics came to Tom Skalinski. It's like, hey, we got this new chip that's really good for a console. You want to work together? He's like, great. Japan rejected it. What did Silicon Graphics do? They went to go work with Nintendo instead, the Nintendo 64. And anyway, Shawn Layden says Nintendo realized cartridges had already maxed out their memory footprints, and so we, or rather Ken Kutaragi, created the compact disc technology to support the SNES, and we were just about ready. I think it was at CES 1993. We were going to announce the partnership, and Nintendo left us standing at the altar after they did a pivot at the last minute and went with Philips. It's fucked up shit, man. You know? So he goes, so there was Ken, proverbially standing at the altar with his optical disc drive in his hands, and indignant, he went back to the leadership at Sony at the time and said, all I need is an OS and some connecting tissue for this thing, and we can build our own game machine. There you go.
It still bothers me, and I still feel like I need to hear Nintendo's side, because I mean the Japanese culture is all about respect, right? The whole thing is about respect. This is very disrespectful, especially toward another Japanese that they reached out to. You know, they reached out to them because they're like, you're not involved in this world, you're in the other world, so you're safe, and we want to work with you. And then to just do something like this seems so shady.
Well, this is why, Adam, 30 years later, Nintendo and Sony don't talk. You heard those stories that Chris talked about, where they wanted to order Bravia TVs.
Oh, yeah, I remember
and
the
Nintendo was like, no,
TVs.
Fuck that. You know, or when he got shit for bringing in a PSP to work, you know.
Shit, almost got fired. They got him 2 months pay. What the fuck?
No, they didn't.
Oh, man. Okay, but here, interesting enough. So Ken Kutaragi went to Sony with this idea, but apparently, and this I didn't know either, Sony apparently had little faith in PlayStation in the beginning. It was a fight to get the Sony name onto the machine. Oh, wow. Okay. So here's the quote. But within Sony, I think a lot of the leadership at the time didn't take it seriously. They thought, oh my God, Sega and Nintendo own this thing, the console industry. You think Sony's going to come in sideways and try to divvy that thing up into a 3-piece pie? It was a fool's errand. I think some of them might have even called it at the time. Wow, okay, wow, that's crazy. But then Sony president Norio Ogasan was a believer. A lot of people thought that we were taking a risk. It was a fight to get the Sony name onto the machine. They didn't want to be associated with it. Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yo, okay, I gotta read this whole interview. There's some juicy shit, you know? And then the last thing, this is not related to the history of PlayStation, but it's something Shawn Layden's been talking about for almost a decade now. And now people are finally listening to him. Because when he first said this, they thought he was crazy. Manny, you know what I'm talking about right now. He says, obviously, the budgets are too fucking big. And he says, one thing that could help bring down game budgets is something we've been saying too, make them shorter. Yeah, and he basically like, why, like, you could have a game that's 18 to 23 hours. That's still good, you know.
We don't even need to do that. God, like, why do we? Why does? They could be more efficient. They could cut the bloat. There is some room to tighten the belt on there.
But
just saying,
but Brett, you could have both. Like, by cutting the bloat is getting rid of all that filler shit that's in games to, you know, tick boxes. That's how you make them shorter and more efficient. You can have both.
People bitch.
You know,
we've always talked
that's
about
the problem.
People
people are like, oh, it's not 100 hours.
They base the value of the game off the amount of time it takes to play the game. So they're like, well, it's only 6 hours. I can't pay, $60 for a 6-hour game. It's like, but that could be the best 6 hours of gaming you'll have all life.
And as we always said, only 25% of people finish games.
Oh,
so
we see it all the time.
Why the fuck are you complaining?
You unlock a Chibo trophy, only mission 4, and it's like, oh, this is a rare. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It's the beginning of the damn game.
Yeah.
And then you still see people bitching online. That game is too short.
I mean, I'm kind of of that, but like look, if I pay $70 for a game and only play it for 20 hours, I did not get my money's worth. Not at all. And it's like, yeah.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah. But look, here's the thing. You guys like, honestly, that the problem here I think is foundational in the sense that you are assuming that the amount of time you play a game is directly proportional to the amount of narrative put in a game, because that's how you play a game.
No, it's about a gameplay, dude. But I don't consider that. My thing is like, how much enjoyment did I get out of a game? The time doesn't even factor into that. I don't care how long it takes me. If it like, I could get like, for example, think about like this, Brett. It took me the same amount of time to beat Red Dead Redemption 2 and Assassin's Creed Valhalla, right? Both about 130 hours. Which one was more valuable to me? They're both the same amount of time. It was obviously Red Dead Redemption. It was a more enjoyable experience. So to me, the time it takes is irrelevant. It's about like how much fun am I having with this? You know?
And I agree with that. And part of that I think is, you know, Red Dead Redemption, that you want to keep playing. Like, you did a lot of side quest activities in that game. So that bumped up the amount of time played, and that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, it's not just about about throwing in a bunch of filler content. It's you can make a system that is more engaging. And I think that the problem that we have is like you spend so much money on a game, you're going to try and push it open to such a wide audience that you end up making vanilla over and over again. And that's not something that people want to engage with for, you know, a real long time. And so to me, I think the bloated budgets are a problem, and I don't think you just need to cut and put in like half the game, right? Like, and that's the thing. Most of these long games, it's not necessarily just the narrative that drives the length of the game.
No,
it's the enjoyment of the game and how well it's made. So, like, I don't think that you can just artificially kind of shorten things, especially because, like, once you build assets, arranging those assets is significantly less expensive than the generating of said assets. So, like, yeah, like, you could, like, if you made Red Dead Redemption half the time, it's not going to cost half the money. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
You get diminishing returns on that.
Yeah, Brett, I want to get your take on this because he's not saying, I mean, he is saying shorter games, but he's actually saying go back to 18 to 23 hour games, like the way it used to be.
I don't think that's going to help, because they're just going to have way over bloated 18 to 20 hour games where people spend, they, again, like, people put fucking things in video games several times that they don't even need to, just because they spent the money on this asset. They're going to use it a few times, so goddamn it, you're going to crawl through this hole 7 times so we get our money's worth. Like, so much of the money isn't spent on, in fact, I was just thinking about this today, like, about kind of going the opposite way. Like, after you have all of this stuff generated, just build more content with it. You know, not like Assassin's Creed did. That shit went way overboard. But, like, God. Miles Morales, I think, is a pretty good example of something that sits somewhere between a DLC and a standalone game.
But it is a smaller sized game.
And I would have liked if Miles Morales had been blown up to the size of, Spider-Man 2. But even honestly, Spider-Man 2 is actually a great example. I don't even know why I'm talking about that. Spider-Man 2 is built off of the bones of Spider-Man 1, right? Most of those assets...
And Miles Morales, so yeah.
Yeah, most of those assets were already generated, so it was just about arranging them. So, honestly, I don't know how they spent so much fucking money on Spider-Man 2.
The license.
The license costs a lot. It's like $50 million.
Well, there's quite a bit of things that you can see. I mean, just because the environment is built doesn't mean that there isn't work that needs to be done, especially with the way the game switches
the audio work.
I'm not saying the game shouldn't cost any money. But
also, not to mention, there's a licensing fee. If you looked at the leak of how much that game costs, and you saw the percentage that Marvel takes out of their games, that's part of the reason why Sony.
Yeah, but didn't
why Sony said, "Oh, we need to start concentrating on our own IP because shit like that."
Okay, but I'm not saying that a game doesn't cost money. I'm saying, like, did Spider-Man 2 cost more than Spider-Man 1?
I believe so.
Yes.
Okay, and so they already had most of those assets generated. They paid the same licensing fee that they paid before. So where the fuck did they spend all the money?
Just because you have a bunch of assets already created, that doesn't mean it's not going to cost something. Like, there's still scenarios that need to be. There's still a bunch of unique things. Remember that they also upgraded a lot of the city. They also
I get what you're saying, but like, okay, like if I say a dozen donuts costs more than 6 donuts. Right, you can't tell me that donuts cost money and have that be the answer. Like, I get that shit costs money.
No, I'm not saying it doesn't cost money, but I'm going into detail as to what things are.
Why did it cost more than the first game?
There's also inflation, you know.
Oh, okay.
So,
let's
people want to get people want to make more money. You know, like there's a lot of things that can be.
A lot of salaries went up behind the scenes.
That
is that already with the programming and
it's internal shit.
There's a lot of
money. That's all it fucking was, man. People gave themselves bonuses for doing such a good job. Like, we are bending over backwards. Like, there's not a good reason for Spider-Man 2 to cost more than Spider-Man 1. And if there is, please tell me.
I don't know. I mean, also, you know, Brett, you're not in development and you don't fully understand that sort of stuff. So, obviously, go look at the leak if you want to get more insight as to how much that game costs, because they do break it down pretty good as to what things needed to be done and what things cost what. So it's all out there for people to look at if anybody has any sort of questions as to how it went.
Yeah, and I also understand how corporate bloat works, Manny. So, like, I do understand how corporations work, and I do understand having a team of 9 when you don't need a team of fucking 9. It doesn't take a genius to know how that shit gets bloated, man. I don't have to have worked in game development to know that's fucking true. I can see that shit like Sweet Baby Inc. is involved in, like, we all know this shit. They're blowing money on shit like consultants, and you're going to tell me that they have their head count down to the absolute minimum needed to make a game, and I just don't know my ass from a hole in the ground because I've never worked in development.
I think we should just, at this point in time, we're going off topic here. I think we should go back. Okay.
Can I also add?
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
To what he said, not you guys, Shawn Layden. I like how he didn't mention anything about the push for realism in graphics, because I'm certain that that's also blowing up the budgets of these games.
The fidelity and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Let me actually read his quote. He didn't say that, Brian. You're right, but this is part of the reason games cost so much. He goes, every generation it costs twice as much to build a game. Would cost $1 million on PS1, now then cost 2, then 4, then 16. It goes exponentially. The PS4 generation, which was the last I was associated with, game development was $150 million if you want to be top of the line. And that's before marketing. So by that math, PS5 games should eventually reach $300 million to $400 million, and that just is not sustainable. Brian, what Concord? That's all I gotta say. That costs around $400 million, so he's actually right about that, you know. But by the way, I know, even though I know you guys felt you were going off track, I kind of felt you didn't, and I kind of agree with points Manny you made and Brett points you made. Like, I think you can't just say games should cost the same. That's just crazy. But at the same time, if you're hiring fucking consulting agencies or these or putting in like new departments that don't need to be there, you know, if you guys are watching the news, you know what I'm talking about. Then that's gonna raise the fucking budget. Again, I always say, why the fuck does Sally from catering need to be in the credits? Shit like that. You know, it's ridiculous.
I don't know. I mean, that's also the same. That's also the same thing for movies, but usually the catering people that they have are on set.
But man, you know what I'm saying? Like, movie credits don't seem as long as game credits, which is crazy.
I think also a lot of times is that whenever they do those sorts of game credits, is they're trying to cover every single division.
Yeah, they are.
You'll see. Yeah, like
not only division, Manny, also like every divisions in other countries too. You notice that, right?
Yeah, they'll include the Japanese credits or any of the credits from the other countries because they seem to localize and release all around the same time.
It's like instruction manuals. Remember, the reason instruction manuals are so fucking big is because they have 50 languages.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same shit.
I think one of the things is like for that is like, you know, previously when you had to actually wait for a game to be localized with whatever language, they would probably usually just drop the whatever superfluous like credits are there. So like you wouldn't be if you're in Japan, obviously you're not going to credit David Hayter, right?
Yeah.
In a Metal Gear game, because you know when it came to the States, that's when you credit him, not and vice versa. So
yeah. So this is what he said about game length specifically. I would like to see a world where you could get back to 18 to 23 hours of gameplay, but with gameplay so compelling, you don't want to put the controller down. I want the entire game to be like that moment in Resident Evil where the freaking dogs come through the window and you drop your controller out of fear. I want more of those kinds of game moments if we could bring down the scale and scope. Yeah, and that's kind of the things I miss. Like, I liked when games were shorter because I would just replay them and I would get a lot of time out of them just finding the little secrets. But when the game's 100 hours, I'm like, I'm done, bro. I can't do this. I think you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't do this shit.
I think there should be levels. Like, in other words,
bring them back.
To it. Like, no, not like actual levels, but I think there should be levels to the way gaming was. Like, in other words, if you had your action adventure game, or if you had your little other type of game, those games were the 15 to 20 hour type of titles, right? But when you had your RPGs, those were like the 20, the 30 hour, whatever hour, insane amount of hours, right? You have those two. We lived in a space that those two things existed. Now every game is trying to be that crazy long RPG game.
Yeah, every game's an RPG now. It's like, why the fuck does Call of Duty have skill trees and leveling up? Like, that's fucking RPG shit.
I mean,
it's just to suck people in. Where they can keep playing, so they can unlock.
I mean, even to an extent, even Spider-Man has RPG.
Yeah, it does. I'm like, well, every game does this shit. God of War with the fucking loot boxes and shit. It's stupid,
Well, it's because
go ahead,
it's
Brett.
because of these inflated budgets. They're so afraid that like they're not going to have something in the game. They're like, this game costs so much money. Literally everybody needs to play it. So like let's put in like a racing mode and some RPG elements and a Fortnite character. Who the fuck cares? Like it's
The
RPG like when they used to attack on the multiplayer to single player games like Uncharted and stuff. Remember, we didn't need that.
We didn't
shit,
need that. Like Chris always calls it the Applebee's of gaming. Everything for everybody.
Well, but that's what you get when you get into that level. Like, okay, like let's take Stalker for example, right? Stalker 2 that just came out. Like that game's on Game Pass. It's actually pretty amazing. I would qualify that as a AAA game. I would say it has well over 60 hours of gameplay, and it came in at a budget under $100 million.
Yeah.
So I mean, how does it do that? And is that like to me, that game still feels like a AAA game, even though it only had $100 million budget. So like how do you set that aside from some of these $400 million monsters? And honestly, I'm not, as much as I hate to say it, I'm kind of rolling the other way on Ubisoft's quadruple A thing. Like maybe we need this. Maybe we need to have a new category of games, and that's quadruple A games, and quadruple A games have a huge problem being successful. I heard somebody say that
games. The nominees are.
Imagine that.
Exactly.
Well, I feel like and we've hit this ad nauseum, but it's not something that's new. It's kind of always been part of the gaming industry, but it's just following trends.
Yeah,
you get games that are successful. And what does the big corporation want to do? Is they want to mimic what was successful for someone to make success for themselves.
What if we had a little Fortnite into this? Shit like that.
Yeah, it seems to work. We still haven't had a good clone type to compete with Fortnite, and same thing with Call of Duty. Battlefield was close, but it didn't really hit that mark, and there's still no competitor.
Yeah, but if all these games cost $100 million instead of $250 to $400 million, like I feel like they wouldn't need to make them for everybody. I think that's the reason Stalker can do some of the weirdly archaic hardcore shit that it does, which I have mixed feelings about. Generally, I love the game, but it is definitely a bit hardcore in places. But it can do that because it doesn't need to capture every single audience member, right? They don't have to get 80% of Xbox owners to play the game in order to build a profit. So like, do you think that reducing the budget at all could allow people to kind of start to aim their things more niche, or do you just think there's no putting that genie back in the bottle?
No, I think there's no putting the genie back in the bottle, but I agree. It's like if they cut their budget, then they have to be more creative with the money they have. So I think a lot of what's happening is like they're just throwing money at the wall and shit.
And Sony, we're seeing that with all the layoffs. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Manny.
Also, I was gonna say also the other thing about insane like lower budgets is that the actual companies themselves give a little bit more freedom, because obviously if you're coming in with a lower budget, you make sure you do what you can with that budget, and you can do a lot.
Well, that's what I
higher the more the budget goes up, the more oversight these guys have, and that's precisely the reason why Toyama left Sony, because they were telling him, "Oh, you need to have this amount of money," and he's like, "Wait, I'm used to working with smaller budgets, and I want to have that freedom to do what I can come in under budget and do the thing that I want."
Yeah.
The more money they give you, the more stress, because then they're going to want to
more problems.
Exactly. Biggie didn't lie, because this is the stress that they give you, because then they're expecting a higher return because of how much they've invested. And it becomes an issue. And remember, we just seen it. This is considered like one of the dark times for gaming, at least for developers, because we've seen so many layoffs.
Oh yeah.
But this is the cause and effect, right? So maybe we are seeing that turn. Maybe next year things will be a little smaller because of
But Adam, you're saying this, but for some reason we're not seeing this as much, and maybe it's just because we're just ignorant. But we're not seeing this as much on the Japanese side, where it's like
that's true.
I think I have an idea as to why, and at least, bear with me here. But I think what happens is here, the more money you have in a game, the more suits you have in the room, and the more suits you have in the room in Western developers, the more they stifle creative control and kind of end up doing things by committee. I think Japan has at least the foresight to note that their high-end creators, they still give them a lot of creative freedom, I think, because they know that these are their golden geese. And they're not going to push them. They're just the way that I've seen the Japanese treat their highest end developers. They treat them kind of like a treasured asset, whereas I don't really think that we do that as much here. So, I this is still a half-baked theory, but I think that's at least in the West, more money, the more suits, more problems.
Yeah, and I mean, and just think about the developers that we used to know and love. I mean, BioWare was, I would say, one of our favorite developers, at least for a lot of people in this room. And what happened? They did Mass Effect trilogy. They did obviously a whole bunch of other games before that.
Yeah, shit.
They did the Dragon's Age games. And then they did.
They did when we called them Dragon's Age. Yeah. Remember, Dragon Age is the bad one. Veilguard Dragon's Age is the good games.
No, retroactively, it ruined the whole series.
Damn.
Well, they did the Dragon Age games, and then what happened? The ending of Mass Effect 3 was a miss, and then
they fixed it.
Andromeda was a miss.
Hey, just download the fix. We can play that tomorrow, Carlos.
Aren't you guys glad that the Veilguard developers are merging back into that team?
Yeah, isn't that great? Mass Effect is going to be fantastic.
They're like, we're not going to do a DLC so we can get Mass Effect you sooner. And everyone's like, including me, is like, no. Just take your time. Do a lot of Veilguard DLC. Let the Mass Effect team just maybe do their thing.
Jesus.
And look, and what happened to BioWare? They did a pivot. And what was the pivot? It was fucking Anthem. It's a money play. And that's all that game exists for. That's not classic BioWare. In any sense, it's cool if you want to do a new IP, if you want to make a different direction, but you could tell right away why that game was made, because it had influences from all the hot games that were going on at the moment. And here's another one, fucking Rockstar. I always have to mention them because fucking Rockstar, they made GTA 5. They've released a whole bunch of GTAs within 2 decades, and then GTA 5 came out. And it made them more money than the GDPs of some freaking countries.
Well, online.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what do? They didn't release many games. Red Dead Redemption 2 came out,
Only
and that's
one,
it.
yeah.
And that's because they were content with the money that they're making, and they just stifles creativity. That's all, because all they could think about is selling shark cards.
He just keeps printing money, though. That's the thing. I'm sure in the meetings they were
Well,
like,
that's why they haven't released
down.
a new game.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
of that. That's Carlos's point.
Sure,
You know?
Yeah, every time. But then from a business side, you can't knock it. That's business. I mean, if you go in and they have a meeting, it's like, all right, listen, we need growth. Okay, let's see. What are we making now with these shark? God damn, we're still making. It's like, yeah, let's just keep focusing on that. Make more content, because they are making more content. They are making stories and all that stuff. It's just not what we wanted. We wanted the stories that are standalone or at least co-op outside of the multiplayer online stuff. And that's not what they were doing. And it just keeps moving. And I'm still curious to see how this whole thing's going to work out with Grand Theft Auto 6, and if they are going to just incorporate the online service that's now. Because shoot, man, if they were to turn that shit off now and say, hey, this stuff isn't carrying over into the new game, people be up in arms.
Yeah, no, they're gonna have to do some kind of transition.
Yeah, with all the cars and all that content. Yeah, no,
it's wild.
It's like what's it called?
Fall Guy. Was it? No, Free Guy. Remember that Free Guy? That happened in that. It was. Go ahead.
It's like those games, like RuneScape and World of Warcraft, when people have invested decades of their lives and so much money, and they have gold in there and stuff. They just feel like if they create a new version of that game, they'll just kill the economy of the other one.
We recently had something like that with Call of Duty. So in Call of Duty, the last one, you get those double XPs. You've probably seen it, right? Oh, enter this code, get double XP, or you get XP for a certain amount of time or days. Anyway, people have accumulated a bunch of these codes. You stack them up, and then whenever you play certain games, your buddies or whatever, or there's an event, then you start piling them on, and that's how you boost. Anyway, when Black Ops 6 came out, they were all there. Everybody saw the stuff from their old one. So they were like, oh, this is great. All my shit carried over. And then all of a sudden they removed it. And they're like, oh, sorry, our bad. That wasn't supposed to be there. It's like, but wait. A lot of people paid stuff for some of these, whether it's buying from drinks or, I think that Little Caesars give you a coupon or whatever if you buy pizza. People paid for these things. And just to take it away, for what reason? Because we know it works. You just showed that it worked when it launched and it was there and people were using them, and they removed it. Anyway, people bitched and they brought them back. So I think that right there, that shows there's a big install base for people who Call of Duty, that I can't see any of these big games saying, hey, we're going to take everything away that's all tied to that old game. You're going to have to start new. They're not going to do it. People are not going to do it.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see. All right, let's move on. And before we move on to the last couple of stories, reminder that at the end of the show, we're going to be giving away a free physical copy of Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection. I have collected all of the names of the people that answered the question, so we will put you in this Wheel of Destiny. You know what? That's a better name than the Wheel of Morality, the Wheel of Destiny, because you are destined to win something.
There's nothing moral about that wheel.
Yeah, exactly. I just called it the Wheel of Morality because was it Tiny Toon? Not Tiny Toons. Animaniacs.
We can't call it the Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, I'm calling it the Wheel of Destiny because you're destined to win.
Best winner of all time was These Nuts.
These Nuts. That was the best one.
That was not bad.
Yeah.
Also, Wheel of Destiny. That's also a very Soul Reaver reference there.
Yeah. So there you go. Wheel of Destiny. That's what we're calling it. But yeah, we'll do that at the end of the show. And I'm going to do something special because you guys, not only did you answer the question, but you also gave little stories. I'm going to read those stories. Matter of fact, I'm going to read the stories from every single person, and then we'll do the spin. I think that'll be fun,
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Next up, I want to talk about this because we talked about this at the ass end of the last show. Like literally, as I'm doing the outro, I'm like, "Yo, what's up with this Horizon-looking game?" So the name in question is called the Light of. I'm going to fuck this up. I don't know how to pronounce it. Motiram. I'm just going to call it Motiram. It's obviously inspired by Horizon Zero Dawn in aesthetics. But the interesting thing is the game's coming to PlayStation. And Sony has given this game its blessing. despite the fact that it's a clear ripoff of fucking Horizon. But it's visually, gameplay-wise, it's not. It's like a survival game, you know? It's a survival game combined with Monster Hunter. So the gameplay not Horizon at all.
Do they have robotic dinosaurs?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like they do?
Yes.
Oh, then it's a ripoff. There's a ripoff.
Not only that, Adam, they even use the same color schemes. Go ahead, Ben.
So is it the Light of Motiram or is it the Light of Mediocrity?
It might be that. Yeah, it might be because it's Tencent, you know?
Shoot. Maybe someone was hoping that they could see the light of a
your favorite game
because
publisher.
Horizon did not deliver on that payout.
But yeah, some people were expecting Sony to legal action because it looks like motherfucking Horizon.
But you know what? This has been done before. Remember there was that one, and I know Brett will probably remember this, or Brian. Remember there was that Zelda Wind Waker type game that everybody was praising. They were like, "Oh, this is like Wind Waker and Zelda," and it was on mobile for a while, and it eventually came to Switch. People were like, how could they let this happen? This is like a direct ripoff of a Zelda game, and people, they money's money. If they can make money and they don't think that it's infringing too much on the IP.
Or remember when they did that Pokemon type game?
Oh no, they went after those. No. They're in legal wars with them right now.
It's funny.
I'm blanking on the name, but it's I know what you're talking about.
It's funny.
Power World, they're suing the shit out of them.
Yeah, Power World. It's funny because there actually is a legitimate Pokemon clone that's on PlayStation and Xbox right now, and that one's not getting that's like battles and capturing and all that stuff. And
what's the name of it?
Not getting any hit. I can't remember it. It just appeared on like
Temtem.
Yeah, is that it? Yeah, that's it.
Temtem. But did you guys see any of the reports of the copyright laws and then Nintendo sent over to Power World?
Yeah, we talked about that.
It. Yeah, you were talking about it, and they showed the dates, and it was just all within the same month of last year.
Yeah,
it was like they just did.
They retroactively did that. It's so weird.
Yeah. Oh my lord.
But yeah, this Light of Motiram game, it's a co-op multiplayer free to play game. So obviously mechanically not at all the same as Horizon, but again, it has the same color scheme, robot dinosaurs, and all that. So it's understandable why people were making that kind of connection. But Sony's like, hey, cool, we're happy to have it on our platform. So there you go.
I find it quite interesting how the game exists, and it could actually be like a companion piece to Horizon in that aspect, in the sense of this is maybe what the devs should have been making in the first place.
Yeah, or do you think, because aren't they also working on a Horizon like multiplayer game? So
it was cancelled.
It was canceled. Sony, there you go.
So it is very fascinating, because if this game does well, especially on PlayStation, then I think there should be lots of questions being asked as to who and why the Horizon official multiplayer game was cancelled, because it's clear that people would want something like that if this game is popular, especially if it looks very, very similar.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like when I seen the trailer, my first thoughts were, oh wow, this is what a Horizon game with inspiration would look like.
You create your own character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
there you go. So. It's gonna win. It's gonna win right.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
because people love customization, and that's always the issue, right? It's like, oh, I'm stuck with this. Even the Star Wars Outlaws, besides other issues. In fact, there's like, damn, why can't I just be my own outlaw? Why do I gotta play like this? Why can't I customize myself? People love customization. That is the key to Fortnite. That is what keeps people glued in, because they get all these different characters all the time.
Brian, you'll like this comment from Mob Hits. It was canceled so Concord could live.
Well, look at Concord now.
Exactly. Rest in peace.
Sitting next to E.T. in the junkyard.
Yeah.
Rest in pieces.
Rest in pieces. All right, another one. I don't know how I feel about this one, but because it's like upsetting, but also I'm also kind of okay with it. Anyway, Elden Ring director Miyazaki says FromSoftware isn't really considering Elden Ring 2 right now, but he's still not ruling out more of the Lands Between in the future. So it seems like we may not get a sequel, but maybe some, more DLC.
I mean,
yeah.
No, I think he's saying like we might get one like down. He's not, opposed to doing another Elden Ring down the line, but it's not up in the next pipeline. Or am I thinking that wrong?
I don't know, because I don't know if I understand it correctly either. You know what I mean?
It sounds like they're not working on that.
Yeah, they're not working on it at all. But it's like
they're not working on it. It's not even in concept development, but they're not against going back at some point. It's just not currently in the pipeline anywhere.
Yeah. Shout out to Dio for the cheers. But Brett, this is why I'm ambivalent about it. It's like on the one hand, I think Elden Ring is like a perfect game as is. So I'm okay if they never get a sequel. But man, I would love a sequel. You know? Like that, it's so good.
It's kind of like Final Fantasy. They don't ever really do a direct sequel. The closest you really got was like Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 3.
Yeah, because Dark Souls 2 was like what its own thing.
Yeah, Dark Souls 3 took place in a different place, and like there were only tangential collections.
Yeah.
Anyway, there. So it's kind of like Final Fantasy and being like, man, I wish they'd make a sequel to a Final Fantasy. Like, I mean, yeah, I guess, but like.
It breaks the naming scheme. That's the Final Fantasy of that story. That's it.
Yeah.
Next one will be a different Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
The only times you get a sequel is like Final Fantasy X2 or Final Fantasy 13-2, stuff like that, you know? But yeah, listen, as long as I get a game from software, I'll be happy. That's all I care about.
Each one has been better than the last one.
Yes.
So
what are they working on?
I agree.
I'm gonna let him cook.
Yeah.
Like, you do what you need to do. Can I bring you a sandwich?
Yeah, sure. I like sandwiches, man.
Well, can I
Not you, Miyazaki.
Oh, Miyazaki, yeah, but give him a sandwich. Yeah, give him a sandwich.
I'll put you in the credits afterwards, bro.
Make this man some Kansas barbecue, son.
There you go.
Can I add a qualifier to that statement?
Sure.
I don't care. It doesn't matter if it's an Elden Ring sequel. What I do care about is that it's an open world FromSoftware Souls-like game. Because they hit it on that. Number 2, here's another thing. There isn't going to be an Elden Ring 2. Well, maybe there isn't, because who's the person in charge of the lore of that game? That motherfucker's gonna take 10,
Did you see what
15
he said?
years.
Did you see what he just said today?
Man. That's enough from that guy.
I'm done. I don't care.
Yeah,
about
I'm done with
that
Yeah.
bullshit.
What'd he say? What'd he say?
I don't want to go down. I'll tell you off air, because I'm going to go down a rabbit hole. You know.
So what are they working
Brett,
on now?
He was making an excuse for why he hasn't released a book in 13 fucking years, and he doesn't know if he ever will. Now he's like, I don't know if I ever will. Like, okay, bro.
He doesn't know if he's ever going to finish his own series?
Yes.
He's like 80 years old. He can't do it. It's over.
Okay, I'll just read. Go ahead.
I thought that shit was done. I thought he said it was done, and he doesn't.
He never said that. It sounds like I don't know.
Is he just going to wait until he dies and have Brandon Sanderson finish it?
Yeah, probably. Even though Brandon Sanderson doesn't like Game of Thrones, so
ChatGPT will finish it for him. That's how that'll work.
Okay, I'll just read this and then we could talk more about it off air. Game of Thrones author says he doesn't know if he'll ever finish Winter. And then this is his quote. Unfortunately, I am 13 years late. Every time I say that, I'm like, how could I be 13 years late? I don't know. It happens a day at a time, but that's still a priority. Bullshit. And I do hope to visit it. A lot of people are already writing obituaries for me. They're saying, oh, he'll never be finished. Maybe they're right. I don't know. I'm alive now. I'm pretty vital. You've been saying that. But
he had a whole pandemic to write write the damn book.
Carlos, you know what Brandon Sanderson did during the pandemic? He wrote 6 books. And you know why? And Brett, he wasn't, you know why he wrote it? Because he was like, I got nothing else to do. I mean, just write fucking books. That's literally it. He was not contractually obligated. Like, fuck it, I'll just write some secret books. You know?
The man's a monster.
He's crazy.
I think somebody needs to just take George R.R. off the internet because he seems to comment on a lot of shit, and he seems to write more on his fucking blog than he's doing anything. So yeah,
he's got writer's block.
Take him off the internet, lock him in a room.
Yeah. Also,
he's criticized a spin-off TV show of his work.
He was very vocal about that spin-off.
Yeah, and Brett, the other difference between Sanderson and Martin, Branderson outlined his fucking stories.
Yeah, he has a plan.
Yeah.
Like we all know what this is. We all just know it's like, hey man, like he doesn't know how to finish the book in a satisfying way.
Mm-hmm. That's what it is, because he writes stories just off the cuff. A gardener, as he calls himself. Anyway, off topic there. All right. Since we have to do this every week, what is another L from Ubisoft? Every week.
What they do, Ray?
So now they have they have discontinued XDefiant and shut down the studio. So yay!
Oh, that coming though. There you go. There's another one that tried to take a bite out of the Call of Duty apple there, and they're like, nope, can't happen.
They're circling the drain. We all know, like, they do not have that long left. No.
I think when Shadows drops, Brett, if it does, that's it. It's over.
That's a make or break.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. It's been over. Like, they have been quietly shopping around to try and find somebody to buy them for what, a year now?
That's still kind of unofficial. But in the last couple of months, yes, they've been more open about it. But remember, Brett, they were first like, we're not trying to sell to nobody, But now they're like,
sure.
Yeah, now they're like, all options are on the table. We'll see.
That's why other people who hadn't lied to us have been been talking about it. Like, yeah.
So Adam,
who was it that laughed at them?
About buying. You're right. Somebody did. Like they went up to them. They're like, "Hey, can you buy us?" They're like, "Fuck no."
Yeah, they just straight up laughed at them, which was like, "Oh God." To me, that was like, okay, yeah. The second people are laughing out of the room when you're like, "Hey, how you feel about buying us?" Like, no, you can't even sell your company.
Yeah, you mean how like Square Enix and Nintendo both laughed Microsoft out of the room when they tried to buy them? It's like, yeah, right. Fuck out of here.
Exactly.
So Adam, what's up with this XDefiant game? I never actually heard of it until this story.
It was a shooter. It was like their type of Call of Duty shooter. The thing is that it didn't have the progression system, which is what keeps people engaged in Call of Duty. There's a lot of things that Call of Duty has that just pulls you in. It's a gratification of seeing the pop-ups of like, oh, you've hit 10 headshots or 4. I mean, there's reasons for all these different, and it keeps popping up and it keeps motivating you to play. You get skins. So it just didn't have that. It had the design and it had some fun gameplay, but there was no real hook to get people in. And so a lot of people were like, all right, well, I'm bored. I'm not getting anything out of this. I'm not getting any cool skins and weapons and stuff like that, and operators and all the things that people are accustomed to receiving in Call of Duty, because Call of Duty is a massive team, a lot of people involved. It didn't have that type of budget. It didn't have that type of team, and it just never blew up to that level. So for a long time, the developer was posting on Twitter and saying stuff like, "Oh no, we're not going anywhere. We got another update coming out. Next season is going to be awesome. We're working on." And I guess somebody said, "Nope, pull the plug. Done."
Yeah.
So it's sad, but then again, a lot of people that I know that were hyped on it before, I was like, "Hey, how you feel about this?" Like, "I haven't touched this shit in like a year."
Yeah, but apparently the developers are going to be put on other teams, so I don't think a lot of people, if anyone, got fired. So that's good, at least.
Yeah. I hope they get shuffled around, but then again, where are they going to be shuffled around? Because look at all the other games, like we just said, aren't doing great. So it's not like, oh, we're going to put you on this other team, and then you go to that game's always, we're not doing another crew game. We backed out. All right, well, where am I going now?
Oh man. You know what this game looks like? I'm looking at some gameplay now. It looks like Far Cry New Dawn with all the colors and shit. Remember that?
Yeah, it had a lot of colors.
Yeah.
It was very vibrant. People had fun. The gameplay was all right. It just didn't hit the mark.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Wait a second, Tony.
Yeah.
You mentioned something I haven't heard in a long time ago.
Far
Cry.
Yeah, Far Cry. That's right. Yeah, another abandoned franchise. Yeah.
But that one didn't do well.
What the hell are they doing?
That last one didn't do well.
Yeah,
Remember they
the one
spent all
with
the money with the guy
Giancarlo and
yeah,
Esposito. Yeah,
it did not sell.
Oh yeah,
It wasn't even
that's
well
true.
received critically. It just so they tried and it didn't go. And then it was like, hey, what about the Splinter Cell? I'm like, hey, did we tell you about
what's
that?
that? Yeah, I don't know what that is.
They just
Never heard of that game.
Never
Never
heard
heard
of
of
it.
that game before.
Shoot, they pulled the Matrix.
You know,
No, we don't talk about that. Which makes me wonder if there's something else that we don't know. And they are like the Tom Clancy series. They are still paying the parent, the kids of Tom Clancy. He's passed.
yeah.
So maybe there's something else with that. Maybe that stands out and is like, hey, if we do, we have to give them a bigger cut. You know, I don't know. There's got to be a reason that they keep dodging this when everyone keeps requesting it. You would think, hey, it's a no-brainer. Just give them what they want. Just make another one. Let's shut them up. And if it bombs, it bombs them. We could blame them for it. Like, hey, no one bought this shit. But they're not even trying with that. So.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, and the last story here before we do the giveaway. This one's kind of funny. Snoop Dogg is going to be performing at the Video Game Awards, so we won't have to suffer through Dragons or whatever the fuck that name of that band was.
Well, Imagine Dragons.
So
Yeah,
But I talked about this on Sunday. My son is all into Fortnite, and he came out and they had this whole big event for their new season. He's a big part of that world. You know, you fight him, you get him as a buddy to help you fight. So my son beat him, and next year he's running around with Snoop Dogg.
he's running around with Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
Let's go, yo.
Yeah.
Then Eminem
Record
has
sales down, huh?
crazy. I don't really listen to Eminem, but I heard that he did some rap where he's like breaks some world record. He like raps really fast. He does. Blah, 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 blah. So my son is going against him, and the guy's shooting a gun that's rapping at him. Like that. The gun is a.
Oh, really? Okay, that's funny.
Yeah, the gun is. I'm like, what is this? He's like, oh, that's the Eminem gun.
Eminem gun.
That's him shooting, rapping with it. But anyway, he's really big into that world, that Snoop Dogg. So I'm sure that's the tie-in. He'll probably be performing, and they'll probably show some Fortnite shit in the background.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. So Rich, I like what you said that Snoop Dogg is going to be getting high with Jeff Keighley behind.
Oh yeah,
Jeff Keighley.
yeah. That
He
probably
already
happened.
looks high with his droopy eyes.
Yeah, no, that's what I know. That's what I said. I added. I'm like, he's gonna be smoking blunts with Hideo Kojima. You know.
Keely's looked high ever since his days on X-Play with his eyes. Always told you.
Not X-Play. He was talking about electric. No, Manny, what's the name of the show he did?
He was on G4.
He was on G4, but he wasn't. And he wasn't on X-Play.
He was one of the panelists. He was when they had a panelist. It was a panelist.
He was on
show.
some show. It's like a news show.
It was like bonus round. It was that, and then he had another show. He had they had 2 gaming shows.
Yeah, but he was like, he was like, I call him the Kurt Loder of G4. Like he would do like straight news and stuff. But yeah, there you go, Snoop Dogg. At least we'll be somewhat entertained during that part of the show. Game trailers. Yeah, that was a good one. Bonus round with Michael Pachter.
Oh, and I'm thinking even before
game trailers. Remember that? Yeah, he did that.
There was a girl with blonde hair. I remember she was the host of it, and he was part of the round table.
Yeah,
I'm like, yo, why is this guy so high all the time? Because you go and his eyes are like, I'm like, you're not gonna make it, buddy. And here he is now with his own show.
That's
still looking high.
That's funny. All right, man.
Yeah,
what's up?
Yep. Oh no, I was gonna say it's funny because he sort of like when they were like cutting down the shows, they cut his show and they cut what's his face's
Kevin Pereira.
What the hell's his name? No, Victor Lucas's show too, because they had Electric Playground as well.
Yeah. And Tommy Tallarico, don't forget.
And Tommy Tallarico.
Put respect on that name.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now there's not a lot of respect for that guy on it.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
He's been a naughty boy.
He's a controversial subject.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. Let us do this. So we're going to be giving away again a free physical copy of Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection. But before we spin the wheel of destiny, I want to read some of these answers. So the question was, what was the first fighting game you ever played? And I got some good answers here. Some stories too. And obviously I'm going to be naming everybody that's going to be here. Syrian Air Force goes, my first fighting game was Street Fighter 2 on Sega Genesis, a classic fighting game. I remember that vividly. Our boy Mike bought that, and that was the first time because that game it didn't come bundled with it, but the 6-button Sega controller was released with the game, right? So we were playing that for the first time. And even though that version of the game had that crunchy fucking soundtrack, like, it's a Sega Genesis, it's not like shit. The gameplay was great, and it was cool because the game we played before that was the Super Nintendo one. So it was cool to kind of see the new stages that we had already seen in the arcade. That was a great one. And Manny, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't the cartridge for that bigger too? Didn't they add more RAM to that or something?
No, it wasn't any bigger. It was about the same size. It did have some more RAM for the animations and the sounds, but it still sounded like
the sounds like but it was still fun, Mob Hits, and this is the answer. By the way, all these except maybe one, all Street Fighter 2. For obvious reasons. That's the first fighting game that, modern fighting game. But Fergus Mills came up with an interesting answer. I'm like, should I include this? I'm including it, but I'm like, not really, but yeah. Anyway, we'll get to it. Mob Hits, he says Street Fighter 2, the World Warrior, the original, the game that changed the world. Wasted Warlord, he says, my first fighting game, this one's fun, Manny. His first one was Clay Fighters on the Super Nintendo.
Clay Fighters.
Remember Clay Fighters? Even though that game was not good, it still kind of looked cool, because there was like these clay
cool
animations.
Character models. Yeah, they had cool designs.
That was fun. But he says that game led to him and his brothers to get Street Fighter 2 Turbo. So there you go. Dumeke, being an older cunt, I played a heap of fighting games in my day, but the first proper arcade fighter I played regularly was Street Fighter. I learned to Dragon Punch my way through the game since it was invincible. Also, I played the 6-button version, not the pressure pad one. Remember, he said Street Fighter. That's Street Fighter 2. Remember the original Street Fighter? You had to punch the fucking things. Oh. That's crazy. He goes, Street Fighter 2 was a fucking event when that was released. I was also the best in my town at Samurai Showdown and World Heroes. My man said World Heroes. That's always a game. That's always a game I kind of just really think about, like World Heroes. Every time I see the word perfect, I'm like World Heroes perfect. Like that's just been ingrained in my mind. In Samurai Showdown,
the Art of Fighting.
The Art of Fighting was really cool. I didn't play that one though, but Manny and I played a hell of a lot of Samurai Showdown because I was on 3DO, and that was like the closest arcade port without having the Neo Geo itself.
It's still zoomed out because it was like the Super Nintendo one was always out. I think was zoomed out. The Genesis one was
zoomed in,
bigger.
Yep,
was zoomed in, and the 3DO version had the ability to zoom in and out.
And I know one of them was missing characters. Wasn't like one of them was missing Earthquake because he was so big. Like might have been the Genesis one.
The Genesis one.
Yeah. So that's
he would have taken up the whole screen.
Yeah, it's like he's too fucking big. So it's not like a Samurai Showdown. Jolly Yellow Nerd. Since I don't recall playing any fighting games on the Nintendo. The earliest I recall playing was Street Fighter. Yes, because there were no fighting games on Nintendo, not as we know them.
No.
Okay, Dio, who's been joining us.
Oh, well, no, Karate Champ would
kind of.
be.
And this is why I was like, I'm going to let a certain answer go. So good foreshadow there, Manny. Jolly Yellow Nerd. Okay, so I did that. Illustrated Dio, Super Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2 on the Super Nintendo. Yeah, that was great. That was crazy because I was like the game that introduced the 4 new fighters. Cammy, DJ, T-Hawk, and Fei Long. Even though it kind of sucked that it went back to being slow. Because the one before that was turbo, but then it went slow. But it was just so cool. And then they kind of redid the colors and everything. They had a new announcer. Round 1, ready. Like instead of the other guy, round 1.
You mean round?
Yeah, round.
Serious voice.
Yeah.
Round 1,
fight. Fergus Mills and Manny here's the caveat, but I'll go with it. My first fighting game experience was Karate Champ on NES. I will allow it because that
Champ
game was very pivotal to creating the fighting game scene we know. You know,
and it's so crazy. A lot of people don't talk about it, and a lot of people don't like it because. And I only know this because Arcade 1UP was going to make one, and they showed it off, and they were like, "Look, Karate Champ," and they put pre-orders, and then a few months later, they took that shit down and turned it into a Burger Time. And they're like, "Yo, what are you doing?" And they're like, "There was no interest."
Oh
like,
wow!
Nothing. The needle did not.
Yeah, nobody
cared. Yeah, it's not really many people know that game. You know, even though it is, I mean, I wouldn't consider that a caveat. I mean, it is a fighting game and it is one of the earliest ones. So.
Yeah,
it was technical. You had the 2 sticks and you had to like really.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely.
But like widely, I'm talking about like generally speaking, it's not considered a fighting game. But it's like a foundational game. You know.
I mean, it's weird that it's not considered a fighting game because you are fighting in it.
Oh yeah,
and it's not a side-scrolling beat 'em up.
Yeah, it's not.
The only difference is. You know, like the only difference is that like it's a little more simulation because you are 2 characters and you only really
like Karate Kid.
One.
Yeah,
you only really need to do 1 or 2 moves in order to knock a guy down. And then
that's it.
I don't remember exactly. Did it have like health bars that go down to like and all that?
As I remember,
and could you face another person?
I remember kicking in the face and just knocking the guy down.
Could you face another person?
Yeah.
Like another person could get it.
Yeah, there was 2. There was 4 controllers, but you needed 2 to play. And it was 2-player.
Okay, because again, that's ticking a lot of the boxes that you need for a fighting game. You know.
The only thing is that they didn't have any energy.
I think that's why. Yeah, because again,
they didn't have energy.
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, so that's the caveat because they said that's one of the requirements. Like you need the health bars that kind of go down. You know, which is kind of Street Fighter.
The thing about it is it's more of a simulation type of fighting game because again, one hit will get you.
Yeah.
Like it's more built like competition fighting where in other words if you get a good hit in or you get one hit in, they stop the fight.
It's over.
If the person just walks straight towards you and they're in close range and you get a good kick to the head, that's it. You won that round. You caught him.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not saying this what I think personally. I'm just saying it is not generally considered a fighting game, even though it's fucking important. You wouldn't have fighting games without Karate Champ. You know?
At this point, I would call it a deep cut. If anybody does know that one and they call it out because it's so forgotten.
I had to call it. I was like, man. Yeah. And
a lot of people would have been like,
that game was almost there, you know? Okay. Toon, our boy, Mr. Michael Santiago. Street Fighter 2 was the first fighting game I can remember playing in the arcade. Later, I owned it on Super Nintendo. Yeah, that's literally my story. Played that shit in the arcade, in the bodega, after school. And then it came on Super Nintendo, and that was a wrap, And then the last one, the Haitian Ronin, Street Fighter 2 Turbo for the Super Nintendo. So there you go. All right, Manny, so you got the names. Let us start doing the Wheel of Destiny. Spin, spin, spin.
Oh, now we need that. Oh, there we go.
All right, so you spin it when you're ready, man. I know it's a little bit slow.
Yeah, it's a little slow. Sorry about that.
It's okay. All right, there it's spinning.
Whoa,
let's go, shit.
All the names are flying off it.
That's it. All right, and the winner is Mr. Michael Santiago, son. Oh shit! Let's go. Nice, man.
Look at that.
You can hand deliver that one,
I was about
Tony.
to say that. I can just see him tomorrow.
And deliver.
Manny, I have an idea.
I have to get it.
He's faster than Amazon.
No, Manny, I have an idea. Right? I could give him this copy, and the next one you have, you just give it to me.
Yeah, but he was also going to get
the other stuff. All right, never mind. We're not going to do that because we got to send you other stuff, Michael. All right.
Yeah, we got other stuff to send.
Yeah. All right, so I'll hit him up. I'll DM him, and we will get him that stuff. Michael, he's Mr. Winner. If you guys remember, Michael Santiago was the first regular consumer that got an Xbox thanks to Danny Pena. We had that whole video and stuff. It was done during the pandemic and stuff. And it was cool because, Adam, I don't know if you know his whole story.
I remember that.
Yeah, so he, loves video games, but none of the people that he hung out with played video games, right? So then when he started, like when he met me and Danny, he met this whole gaming community, so like I see him at events all the time and shit. It's like he really got himself deep into the gaming community. Like he's also like an unofficial.
I felt like he was crying in that video, that Series X one. Remember?
I think he was. Yeah, it was an emotional moment, Yeah, and obviously he's a first responder, EMT, so really, really shout out to him. So yeah, shout out to Michael Santiago.
I wonder if he knows my sister. He might know my sister.
Maybe.
Depending on where
he
works. She's an EMT.
He works like uptown.
She did all of Manhattan and then Brooklyn.
Yeah,
maybe.
And I know he lives in the Bronx.
To be honest, I think a lot of people up in New York probably know who your sister is.
Oh yeah. Oh, what you trying to say?
What you trying to say, man? Damn.
No, I know.
Yo, Adam, you hear this shit?
Yo, I hear this shit. Wait till we get off air. No. No, he's right because she was attacked, and that made big news.
Oh shit!
Because she went to save somebody to respond, and he had a mental illness, and so she was trying to treat him, and he just went buck wild on her and just started attacking her, and that made the news.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why you got to give those people a shout out, man.
Yeah, man, it's not easy.
Like
it's because of my his sister, my cousin. The New York State or New York City changed the laws on how first responders deal with people who have issues like that.
Yeah. Crazy people, as I call them. All right, man. So yeah, very happy. Well, Michael, we'll get you your stuff, man. I'll hit you up, and we'll get that to you. And that is it for another episode of Throwdown. As a matter of fact, this was the last regular episode of Throwdown for the year, because next week we are doing our live stream of the Game Awards, and then a week after that we're doing the year-end special where we're gonna discuss our favorite games of the year, the games we didn't like, and what we're looking forward to next year. So good times. And then obviously the very, very last show of the year will be the AMA special, which Adam will like because it'll be 50 hours long.
Yeah,
those are the long ones.
Get the coffee.
That's it.
Ready.
Like put it into my veins.
That's it.
Yeah, good stuff,
Plug
man.
in your headsets.
Yeah. All right, Rich, what is going on with the coalition, man?
Oh yes. So first and foremost, give a shout out to Mr. Adam Vale. He did an article earlier this week on some co-op games worth playing this holiday season.
Nice.
So if you haven't checked out that article, I would encourage you to do so because some very good picks on there. As for other stuff, as I've already mentioned, I have an Indiana Jones review on the website right now. I also reviewed a game called Fantasian Neo Dimension. That is an RPG game.
Sounds
by
like an
the
RPG.
father of Final Fantasy.
Oh, Sakaguchi.
Yes.
Yeah, we talked about that game before.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, the game was on mobile, but now it's on console officially. So, check out that review. And what I can say is that myself and Mr. Adam Vale, we are actually playing some games we can't talk about yet. But stay tuned because we'll be talking about this stuff in the future.
That's it. The teasers. Love it. Yeah. All right, man, we're done here. So make sure you follow Throwdown on Twitch and Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, and join the Discord where the conversations and the rumors are always popping. And of course, you can find us on your favorite podcast app. Links to everything down below. Once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I was joined by Emilio Lopez.
See you next time.
Carlos Romero.
Peace out.
Brett Murdoch.
Deuces.
Adam Vale.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
Richard Bailey Jr.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
And Brian Manjoma.
Yo, Jason, where's Dragon Age Veilguard these days?
Excuse me?
Because last I seen it fell out the top 100 on Steam, and put that into perspective, the 100th game is Hogwarts Legacy.
Oh, interesting. Now, by Jason, do you mean Jason Schreier?
Who else?
Of course, yeah. I don't know. What's up, bro? Yeah, shout out to everybody in the chat tonight, man. You guys are fucking awesome. They're all here like going, yeah, that show was great. You already know, man. And again, thank you for not only participating in the contest, but all the wonderful stories. And shout out Mob Hits. My man knows his fighting games. He went ham. You know, he started posting pictures of all his favorite fighting games. Mainly like one of our favorites, Eternal Champions, which come on,
Sega, pull that one out.
Dimension Warriors had a little bit of that inspiration too. You know, but instead of like from different times, different dimensions.
You know what I would also throw in there? They would qualify when we were talking about Nintendo and fighting games. They had the pro wrestling game.
Yeah,
it's just pro wrestling. That's fighting. That had an energy bar, and you would just fight.
Yeah, I think they don't consider. I think they don't consider that fighting because it's like when you press back, you turn around. You know, it's like instead of just constantly facing forward each other. You know, but then again, motherfuckers want to call Smash Brothers a fighting game, even if you do that. I do not consider that a fighting game. You know, but that's a whole other story.
That doesn't have power bars.
No, it doesn't. You know. You know,
like
but yeah, motherfuckers want to call it
like
that shit. It's not.
Hitting him off the
No,
platform.
that is not a fighting game. Karate Champ is more a fighting game than that fucking shit. You know, but that might be my bias talking. You know. All right, guys, we'll see you on Sunday.